Ready?
It's gross. That's traumatic enough. I know I'm going to sit there.
Let the record reflect, we have reconvened with all members present. Carmela Vitale is excused. I'll explain that shortly. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing after the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Please join in a moment of silence for the victims of the recent shooting in Parkland, Florida. Let us remember the 14 students and 3 staff who walked into school on Valentine's Day and never came out. Let us take a moment of thought and respect for those students, the survivors who have stepped forward to say enough is enough. Students who are far stronger than many who can and should make a difference. Students who are smart enough to know that our Bill of Rights has made this country great, but just as the First Amendment doesn't give the right to use hateful speech to incite a riot, the Second Amendment should never give anyone the right to own a weapon of war. Let us take a moment to thank the students who are taking a stand so that their children can go to schools to learn, not having to hide with every sound of a loud noise. These students have been loud and clear. Enough is enough. We can and we must do better. Now, a moment of silence to remember the 17 who died in Parkland on February 14th, their families, and all others from Columbine to Parkland who went to school one day and never came home. Thank you. I have a motion of the executive minutes of February 12, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Already discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
A motion of the regular minutes with the correction that was handed out of February 12, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome all for our department budget evening. And thank you also for joining us in that moment of silence and respect. I want to, as I mentioned, Carmela Vitale is not here today. She is doing double duty, or had to do double duty, and she's up in the county seat with their Morris County Community Development Block Grant. She serves on a committee, part of a team that evaluates and recommends grants through the Community Development Block Grant Program. We appreciate Carmela's dedication to serve on this committee and just wish that she could have cloned herself so she'd be here and be in 2 places at the same time. And just to give you a little background, part of what this group does, well, she cannot serve in the committee that evaluates Madison's request, but it should be noted that we received $80,000 last year for Plain Street, and we have a $80,000 request in for this year for Community Place. And a couple other things that happened over the last 2 weeks besides having summer arrive, having winter return, and having spring come today. I attended a Leadership Morris session last week with 2 other mayors, and we each presented on economic development in our respective towns. So and this was for the current Morris County Leadership Morris class. Also presenting were Mayor Franciola from Hanover Township, and then also Mayor Dodd of Dover. And with the work of our Business Development Director, Lisa Ellis, I have to say that Madison's presentation was by far the best, and we had a great story to tell. And for those that are not aware, Leadership Morris is a year-long immersion program that people in business across the county sign up for, really learning the ins and outs of Morris County. I was a 2003 graduate of the program, and I was honored to hear that at that meeting when I was doing the presentation, that in April I will be one of 2 recipients of the Leadership Morris Alumni Achievement Award. And other good news, I got a call from the governor's office on a Sunday to let us know that we have been awarded a grant for Greenwood Avenue reconstruction, $227,000. The funds come from the Transportation Trust Fund, which is supported by the gas tax that was put in place in the fall of 2016. And we did get the letter to confirm that it was not a prank call on that Sunday. So, but just to re-emphasize the amount of work that goes into this, it should be noted, I don't know if people noticed in this weekend's Ledger, there's an article on Trenton. Our state capital is not receiving any road grants because they missed the deadline. The amount of work that goes into these grant applications is incredible, and they really hold everyone tight to the guidelines and including the deadlines. And so I want to thank our engineer Bob Vogel and the whole team for making sure that we get these grants year after year, so that when we do a road that can be supported by the state, it truly is supported by the state. So thank you all for your work on that. Now moving on to reports from committees. Health, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also have the engineering and public works. So I'll start with health. At its February board meeting, the health department passed a resolution allowing for a feral and stray cat trap, neuter, and release TNR program during March and April, with extensions approved as needed. Permanent solution is being researched. Flu shots are still available for those who are interested. Please contact the health department for further information. And finally, residents with pets should be aware that renewals are now being assessed a $10 late fee. Reminders have gone out to those who haven't renewed for this year. After a date to be determined, summons will be issued for those who have not renewed. And for the public works, first we have, engineering. The 2018 road improvement program is now out to bid. We already mentioned the Greenwood Ave grant, so we'll move on to the Central Ave water main replacement. Continues with new pipe installation in the area of Fairview Avenue by the contractor. We're expecting completion of all the work sometime in April. The Elmer Street Sewer Improvement Project has been re-advertised, and a bid opening is scheduled for March 27th. The North Street Pump Station has a new chemical feed system installed last week with the assistance of Rapid Pump and Evoqua Siemens companies. Sewer cleaning and videotape work by National Water Main Cleaning will continue this month on multiple streets. And finally, the request for historic project qualifications for the Harley Dodge Plaza renovation will be advertised next week, anticipating general contractor submissions by March 27th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Finance and Borough Clerk, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Letters were mailed last week to over 90 residents who had duplicate first quarter property tax payments submitted by their mortgage lender. This happened because the resident prepaid their property taxes in December of 2017, and then their mortgage lender sent in a duplicate payment in early February. Based on the guidance from our auditor as well as the State Division of Local Government Services, these duplicate payments will be sent back to the mortgage company. Residents are strongly advised to contact their lender and confirm that escrows are being deducted properly. From the Finance Department, the Chief Financial Officer submitted the unaudited annual financial statements to the State of New Jersey this evening. The state had extended the deadline because of issues they were having with their new automated system. The document will be posted in the Finance Department section of Rosenet tomorrow morning. And this evening, we are going to hear short budget presentations from the following departments: Police, Fire, Public Works, Electric Utility, Health, Construction, Library, Engineering, and Land Use. Department heads will give a short presentation on their goals, objectives, capital needs, and the presentation document will be posted on the annual budget process page on Rosenet. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Wolkowitz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll excuse myself in advance, but this is the residual of a bad cold, so I'll croak my way through the presentation. For the Fire Department, on Wednesday, February 14th, which was Valentine's Day, a dog owner asked the Fire Department to help with removing their dog, Teddy, from under a house on Maple Avenue. Teddy the Beagle had fallen into an abandoned underground well when he was walking under the deck in the rear yard of the house. The Madison Fire Department's confined space rescue team did just that. They rescued Teddy, and it was a happy Valentine's Day for that family. On Wednesday, February 21st, at approximately 6:30 p.m., The fire department responded to assist the Morristown Fire Department at a fire in a commercial building at 67 East Park Place, which is located on the green. And then the following morning, on the 22nd at 10:47, the fire department responded along with other fire departments and agencies to assist the Chatham Fire Department at the scene of a structure fire at 168 Main Street, which is approximately at the intersection of Main and Hillside. It was a second-floor apartment above the commercial stores. As for the police department, Patrolman Burns had been nominated by Chief Atchison for special recognition and an award from the MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for all the work he's done to take drunk drivers off the streets. The Mothers Against Drunk Driving concurred, and he is now scheduled to receive this award in June at a special meeting in Rutgers, at Rutgers University. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Affairs, Ms. Byrne.
Okay, from the Director of Business Development, planning for the CECM Around the Business World in 90 Minutes event on March 20th, and the annual cocktail party and networking event on April 10th is underway. Work has begun on the creation of a management plan for the community space on Kings Road. The space is expected to be finished later this spring. In addition to the Bottle Hill Tavern and Madison Bagel on Waverly Pace, Fruta Bowls on Main Street, a new restaurant called Central and Main, located at 3 Central Avenue, that's the old Redux area, will be opening later this spring. This will be another location for Chef Leah Gaccione of South and Pine in Morristown. From the DDC, 2018 Taste of Madison will be held on Monday, March 19th at Brooklake Country Club. Planning has been underway and sponsorship letters have been sent. Tickets are now available at tasteofmadison, all one word, .org. Please plan to attend this signature Madison event. And 2018 is the 20th anniversary of May Day. The first event took place on May 2nd, 1998. The planning for May Day 2018, which will be held on May 5th, is underway. The T-shirt art contest details have been distributed to the elementary schools. Chamber of Commerce, the 2018 Home Expo will once again be held on Saturday, April 28th at the Madison Junior School. The Chamber's annual Easter Fun Fest is scheduled for Saturday, March 24th from 11 to 12:30. The Easter Bunny will be strolling through the business district, and businesses are encouraged to participate in handing out candy and toy-filled Easter eggs to children as they visit your business with their parents. And then this spring, the Madison Area Chamber of Commerce is publishing 10,000 copies of its very own 2018-2019 edition of the Madison Map. This map is 21 by 14 inches and it folds to a compact pocket size. It folds up about this small. The map includes an updated chamber business directory organized by category and details about events and programs in downtown Madison. The map is meant to inform residents, visitors, and students, and it is an advertising opportunity for all organizations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Utilities, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can divert for just a second, I'd like to extend congratulations to the Madison High School varsity hockey team for winning their league championship, the Halverson Cup, and last night for the junior varsity for winning their cup as well. And a certain Sean Hoover scored a goal last night and scored the winning goal in the shootout the week before. Okay, now on to the electric department. The Kings Road Substation really required originally to replace the Kings Road Substation stairs and start all anew, and the quote was for $50,000. But they had the contractor come in, and he's just going to replace the stairs and the 2 landings at a cost of $8,000 for a total savings or cost avoidance to the borough of $42,000. They also, the electric department was supposed to purchase a new pickup truck at a cost of $40,000. Rather than do that, they're going to keep the body and the engine and just replace the 2 bodies for a cost of $27,000, which is going to save the borough $13,000. So congratulations for doing that. 6 new projects are underway, 3 of which I will talk about a little bit. One is Waverly Place. They're going to upgrade the feeder line that feeds the customers on Waverly Place and fix all the manholes. Butler Building at the Water and Power and Light plant, they're going to put on an addition, and they're getting estimates of how much that would cost to house equipment and materials. And the substation alarms, they're in the process of finding a vendor to install additional outside alarms, which is particularly good in light of all the things that have been happening lately. The borough will begin to interview this week to fill an apprentice lineman position, which was caused by the retirement of the prior electrical superintendent, Mike Piano. For the water department, the water was interrupted on Greenwood Avenue while a contractor for 19 Greenwood decommissioned the old house services that were left in the building. Water was also shut off for the new fire and domestic water lines at the new building at 19 Greenwood. The annual New Jersey DEP compliance evaluation assistance inspection is set for February 26th. The department is also closely working with the contractor Joe Med, who is installing new 8-inch main lines on Central Avenue. We're also in negotiation has started with the Southeast Morris County Authority for the interconnection of the water feeders, one for us and one for them. So that's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Communications petitions.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Council received one email dated February the 19th from James Green of Ridgedale Avenue, urging approval of the plans for the former movie theater property. Just the one this time.
Thank you. Now we're on to our first of 2 invitations for discussion. This one is limited to the agenda discussion item, which is the budget department presentations, or any of the resolutions. So if you want to comment on other things, you may come up later up in the meeting. The resolutions, which I'll quickly go through now, so you not only have it to comment on, but also will understand when we get to the consent agenda. Resolution 83 is authorizing St. Baldrick's Day children's cancer event at Waverly Place on March 25th. 84 is appointing Russell Stern, the planner, for Zoning Board of Adjustment. And that is paid for through the escrow fees of the applicants. 85, awarding the contract to Tough Greens of Rockaway for electric line clearance, keeping trees back away from electric lines. That's at $129 an hour. 86 is preventive maintenance repair HVAC equipment contract to Ramos Climate and Refrigeration. It's based on previous year contract. The award of contract to D&B Cleaning for cleaning services, Madison Civic Center, and that is for $30,000 for the full year. The Resolution 88, awarding contract to Jimmy Connors LLC, contract $23,890 for new floor at the Senior Center. 89, release of funds from the Affordable Housing Trust, which is money that is paid by developers into the Housing Trust for affordable housing. We are releasing $200,000 to renovate 4 rental units on 30 Central Avenue, this existing multifamily home. And Resolution 90, settling a certain tax appeal at 104 Garfield Avenue. Resolution 91, authorizing Sustainable Jersey grant application of the amount of $2,000. And Resolution 92, mark your calendars, the annual Little League parade to be held on April 21st in 2018. Resolution 93, recognizing the Thursday Morning Club Madison Community House as an emergency warming and cooling center. And that are the resolutions you may comment on. So if you want to comment on any of those or the budget, step forward, state your name, your address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I will warn you at 3 and give you a 1-minute grace period. And again, if you want to comment on other things, that'll be coming up a little bit later. Tom, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mayor. Thank you. Tom Harlan, Petitions, 27 Pomeroy Road. When you have the presentations from the, I guess it's the Department of Public Works, they're going to talk about the electric utility meter upgrade and the water meter upgrades, or should I ask a question about that now?
Yeah, that's we actually have a ordinance introduction on that.
Someone will talk. I was just wondering what progress that's making.
Yep. So we'll make sure when we introduce that, when that's moved, that our CFO covers that.
All right. He's got it all under control. No problem. So I wanted to just ask you about this, making the community house as a designated emergency warming and cooling center. So is the borough equipping them with electric generation, or do they just assume to have it? Like, how do we know that they'll be capable of handling that when the time of an emergency comes?
That's a good question.
I think it's not necessarily in a time when there's a complete power outage. We'll have other backups for that, but it is if a particular resident lost power and couldn't heat or cool, or someone that doesn't have air conditioning they could go to in a heat wave.
Okay. It's a little misleading. But it would be good to know where people can go.
I know we had worked with them on a block grant, but I don't think that was...
Where did we go during Sandy? We went to the ambulance corps building?
Yes.
Yeah. And there was a phone charging station also, and the police department also helped
Public
us with
safety.
that. Yeah. Okay. And I just want to acknowledge, I know this isn't on the agenda, but as far as the community skating rink is concerned, this was by far the year when we had the best maintenance of the skating facility. So I applaud whoever was on that committee and working with Mr. O'Brien, who was out there on his own time, making sure that the facility was safe and cleaned. And paid person, Pete Hiscano, who's involved on the Recreation Activities Committee, also did a good job making sure that the ice was ready for the community to go out and skate. And we had a lot of ice time because of that cold weather. It was the only good thing about the cold weather was a lot of ice time. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will pass those compliments on to everyone responsible. And for the record, I was the one that delivered the cold weather. Okay, just checking. Anyone else wishing to comment on anything on the agenda as outlined before? Seeing none, I close this part of the agenda, and we move on to our agenda discussion, which is a single one. The 2018 municipal budget discussion. Just as a reminder, we'll be back here next Monday at 7 o'clock for another budget hearing with final adjustments and other things. As Jim gets set here, I just want to again thank all the department heads for all the hard work they've put into not only for the presentations tonight, but as they do year-round. What our goal here, for those of us who have been on the council for a while, when I first came on here, we would go line by line and have a presentation on paper clips and things like that. We have great trust on our department heads. Our administration, with our administrator and CFO, are given the marching orders from the council. That is passed on to the department heads, who then allocate and create their budget accordingly. So now what we'll see from each of these departments is a quick little look back on 2017, a quick look forward with 2018, and then a look at their budget and capital budget. And they've also been told that if they go past 3 minutes, there's a clock that starts deducting from their department budget. And if they go past 4 minutes, we bring out the gong. Sorry. Now, seriously, this is for the benefit of, obviously, council, people in the audience, but we know that this meeting will be viewed by many on TV and also on the web. So thank you for all your presentations.
Okay, we're ready?
Chief.
Don't start the clock to my first slide.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
All right, good evening. I'm going to move this up. Maybe I won't move it up there. Okay. All right. Just a real brief introduction. Madison Fire Department, some slides from our previous year. It was about a year ago. This time was when we had the fire on Main Street. Our every 15 minutes program that we did with the conjunction with the police department, ambulance squad, with the high school for the hazards of drunk driving. Fire up on Pomeroy that we had recently a few months ago, and ending with Teddy the Beagle that we recently rescued from the well on Maple Avenue. And that rescue, I just want to say a couple things real quick, I'll chew into my time. We don't do it very often, that type of rescue, but we've trained thousands of hours over the years doing confined space training, and that incident went off without a hitch. Once we put our plan together, it was executed perfectly by my guys in my department. So it went well, and it had a really good ending to it, so kudos to my guys. Okay, we're a combination department. I have a career staff and volunteer staff. In 2018, we will be celebrating our 137th anniversary with the Borough of Madison as a fire department. My present staffing levels, I've got 30 personnel total, 14 in the career end of it, including myself, and 16 active volunteers, 9 of which are in the suppression group, which can do structural firefighting, and 7 which are in the support group. This year, we anticipate the retirement of one firefighter in the career division. His date has not yet been announced, but it's anticipated to be sometime in the midsummer. And I've already talked with Mr. Cody and Mr. Burnett about it to anticipate that for budgeting purposes as we move forward. Fire prevention and inspection is a big part of what we do. We conducted in the Fire Prevention Bureau 538 commercial inspections, 742 safe housing inspections, 236 resale or re-rental inspections. And we've visited every school and preschool in town and put a program specific to that group. Also on the building department end of things, Bruce Barrios, who's our fire subcode official, does work both in Madison and Chatham underneath the building department, and he conducted 916 inspections over the course of the year, and you can see how it's broken down up there. Our call breakdown over the past 6 years, red is in the fire department line, green would be in EMS calls. We did have a drop-off from 2016 to 2017 in fire calls, which in my business is a good thing. We don't like to be busy, but we always stay busy with training when that's not happening. EMS calls have been steadily rising over the years, as you can see. Some accomplishments. 2017 brought in 3 new volunteers. We were taking advantage of the live burn training facility that Morris County purchased a few years ago to do live burning with real fire. We've completed all our mandated training. We've held 24 department drills, and again, the 2 live burn trainings at the Fire Academy, and we've maintained our equipment and kept it all up to snuff. We've completed all our 2017 capital projects, started and to review and update our standing operating guides within the department as well. My goals for 2018, again, attract and retain more volunteers. I can't say it enough. I need volunteers. We're struggling to get them and then to keep them. It's an ongoing thing that we're working within the department and within the volunteer corps to try and do better with that. Try and keep morale high, keep up with our mandated training, utilize, again, the live burn facility up at the Morris County Fire Academy, complete our review of our SOGs. We've already applied for our AFG grant, our Assistance to Firefighter Assistance Grant, which is a federal grant. We were awarded one in 2013 for replacement of our Scott Air Packs, and we're hoping to get one now to replace our apparatus, which is due to come up in a couple of years. So that was in on February 2nd, and we won't hear anything on that until sometime in the fall. And we also want to keep and try and improve our insurance service office rating, which is our ISO rating. Presently, we're a Class 3, and we want to try and get back to a Class 2. My capital budget for 2018, basically continue to replace and upgrade firefighter turnout gear, start budgeting for replacement of our radio systems within the fire department as they start to reach their end of life and use, start budgeting for the replacement of our engine if we don't get the grant. It's going to have to happen in 2020. We can't push that out any further because our equipment, our engines are getting too old right now. Replace a staff vehicle this year. We want to buy some safety and rigging, personal rappelling harnesses for structural firefighters. So if they're caught in a building, they can hook in and rappel out a building. We've been reviewing some harnesses. We're ready to settle on some. for that too. So that's my capital budget for 2018. That's it. Did I make it?
Well done. You have 5 minutes, but you threw in a couple good extras today. You covered it all very well. Any questions or Ben?
Yes, the graph you showed of calls was very interesting, and obviously there's a strong trend in EMS calls. Do you have any explanation for why that's the case?
Well, the green line represents our responses, our being the fire department responses to EMS calls, not the EMS as a whole.
Yes.
They're in pretty much the same boat we are with volunteers, or the lack thereof. So especially during the daytime hours when they don't have the bodies around, we're filling the gaps, and even nights and weekends, we're filling the gaps too. I will say this, they've had a change of leadership over there starting in January. We've met with them, Mr. Cody and I, and Mr. Burnett, and they seem to have a different or a better attitude or a better direction they're going in now. We've noticed over the past month, and it's only been a month, but it's gotten better. It's not the wow factor, but it's gotten better. So time will tell.
Good.
That's just due. They just don't have the people, just like we don't too. So.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Yep. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, my question is actually in part for Jim. When I look at capital numbers like these where there are big bumps, so you have, you go from 235,000 in 18 to 644 in 19. And that's largely due to the budgeting of an expensive item like a fire truck. Would it make life easier if we budgeted things like that over a longer period so that the capital budgets were flatter year in and year out?
We can try to do that. What we try to do is make sure that the capital spend is level when you add all the departments up. So some department may need more capital one year and another department may need a little less. So this happens to be a pretty large bump in 2019 and 2020, but it's driven by Engine 3, and Engine 3, as we know, may hopefully be funded by a grant, so that can go away completely.
Right.
So we try to do that not on a department basis, but on a borough basis to have a smooth number.
Okay, and it works that way because I noticed going through this that most departments have similar patterns.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Chief Lou. Chief Darren.
Can't see Ben? Okay, we'll do that.
And my wife watches this.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to beat Lou's 5 minutes. I don't want to get gonged by Ray over there. As you know, the Madison Police Department has been proudly serving our community since 1890. My department is comprised of 3 major divisions, with the backbone being the patrol division. We currently have 28 sworn officers, and when you take into account our sworn, non-sworn, part-time, and volunteers, we equate to 83 total personnel who are protecting and serving this community. This is our current table of organization, which shows the line of authority from the chief down to the most junior patrol officer. The next slide depicts some of our stats for our department. As you can see, our calls for service in 2017 are up 8.3%. This doesn't mean that our crime is up 8.3%. It just means that our calls for service are up 8.3%. Call for service is anything that my officers go on. It could be anything from a burglary investigation to standing a school post. So those type of events are up 8.3%. Madison went from the 54th safest community in the state to number 17. So we are definitely moving in the right direction, which is something that I'm proud of. Two figures that I want you to take notice of: burglaries. As Lou said, we want to reduce calls. So our burglary rate from 2016 to 2017 went down a total of 65%. Also, theft and motor vehicle theft went down 37%. Overtime, although was up from 2016, we were pretty much right on target for the $200,000 that was allocated. There's a couple reasons for the increase in overtime for 2017. One being criminal justice reform. This increases the time that my officers have to finish reports, whereas in previous years, officers were allowed to do reports over several days. Now they have to do it at the end of their shift, which increases overtime. We have also been down one sergeant with a long-term injury and also down one corporal. Outside job billing for 2017 was up 25%. There was a lot of road work for this year. Our officers were pretty busy covering those other roads. This page depicts our community outreach programs. As you all know, I consider the Madison Police Department a community-oriented police department. The first one there is a Toys for Tots program, which is one of my favorites. I guess I'm just a 255-pound kid because this is one of my favorite things to do throughout the year. To date, we've received 20,000 gifts from the generosity of our citizens. We don't only give these gifts or present these gifts to the Toys for Tots program. We also deliver them to Goryab Children's Center and Overlook Hospital. Another thing on this page that I am proud of. My officers and I learned of a local veteran, a triple amputee. He's a local hero. He was in need of a new wheelchair. So my officers, the PBA, put together the Rose City Roll, which raised money to not only purchase this wheelchair, but they also donated $13,000 to the Tunnels for Towers Foundation. So that was a very, very successful drive. 2017 accomplishments, we purchased 2 vehicles out of our outside duty account with no impact on our operating budget. We increased an auxiliary police officer. We increased special duty event security throughout the borough. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed our increased security with Bottle Hill Day and the Christmas parade. Unfortunately, these are times we live in, and these type of things are necessary. We also increased officers on a regional ESU team. As Chief Lou said, we had a successful every 15 minutes program at the high school. We collected 570 pounds of prescription medication through our lobby drug box. And we replaced our handheld radios, replacing 13-year-old failing units due to capital funding process. 2018 goals. I want to finally complete our body camera project, hopefully by summertime. I'm working with our IT, Jim Sanderson, to defray costs of data storage through building our own server. Data storage for the videos was astronomical, so we're looking at other ways to reduce the cost of that body camera project. I want to fill a vacancy in the corporal position, which will reduce that number of overtime. I want to hold a promotional test for all ranks. I would like to finish our range project, which we have now moved the footprint of our building, which is going to put us outside the DEP wetlands, which is going to decrease costs. It's going to decrease work site, things that we have to do, and permitting time. I would also like to explore a second officer in our schools. It's not just about putting an armed person in our school. It's about building relationship and trust with our officers and our students. We need to increase technology, the hardware, and incorporate sound policies and procedures to increase that security within our schools. And I finally want to move forward with the development of our Police Explorer program and the Madison Police Youth Academy, which we will do this summer. There's going to be more information to follow. So operating budget 25,240 is our budget for the police department. I'm presenting this budget rather flat this year, except for the contractual obligations that were negotiated through the collective bargaining unit. So salaries and wages, equipment and associated maintenance, vehicle purchase, supplies, and training are all covered within this budget. Lastly is my 5-year capital improvement plan. I intend to ask for $35,000 to outfit our new ESU truck. As a matter of fact, we took our old 1990 ESU truck out of service just this morning. This $35,000 will not be for the actual purchase of the truck. It will be for the equipment and the custom bed that's going to be put on the truck. The truck itself is being purchased from our outside duty fund. The next $100,000 is for our new range house. As I said, the range house itself has been moved, so it's going to reduce costs. You also see $125,000 for our first installment for a desk upgrade, which is going to be comprised over 3 years. The last is our $32,500 for our replacement bulletproof vests for our emergency services unit. These vests were expired since 2008, so we're long overdue to replace these vests. These vests are not the same that the officers use on the street, but they're more robust, and they use ceramic plates that protect our officers for dangerous entries, and they protect the officers from a higher caliber bullet. So that's pretty much my 5-year capital plan. Is there any questions?
Yeah. I was very impressed with the stats. Almost everything is down. The one question I did have is the very first stat you put in, the calls for service. When you add up everything that's below it, it only comes out to about half or so of the calls. Is it possible to get a breakdown on?
There's a lot of different calls for service. It would be 10 pages. So
You don't have them categorized into sort of like.
I can get that to you. I don't have them with me.
Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to see how they compare year over year, because I would like to see, if we are seeing a significant uptick in calls, it's not reflected in most of the stats that are below. So I'm just wondering, where are we seeing that increase?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Longer to Chief Lou?
It was, sorry. And just for everyone in the audience, also as a reminder, and those watching this, is we did give the suggestion to the presentations. You don't need to read slide by slide. This whole PowerPoint presentation will be on Rosenet, so you can go back and take a look at the items that have been covered and maybe help some of the questions you may have. Welcome, Ken.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, administrators. As you know, I've been employed by the Borough of Madison for almost 14 months, and I think we've had a very good last year. If you look at the first slide, you'll see a couple of things that we do. The Department of Public Works works both above ground and below ground. That is a picture of the water utility, put it in a water fountain downtown. We have 2 of them now. We're going to have a third one. We worked with the DDC to find the locations and hook them up to our mains. And for those of you that have 4-legged pets, they are dual-use water fountains. You can drink out of them, and so can your 4-legged pets. There's actually a foot pedal for them to drink out of there. We're doing a sewer repair. The picture on the right is a sewer department is doing a repair on Rosedale Avenue. This past year, we did a significant sewer repair, and that was on Central Avenue. Central Avenue has 10 inches of concrete when it was built by Morris County underneath it. And while they were doing a water repair in the area, we found a sewer main that was broken. And in the past, some of that had been contracted out, and I thought that we had the ability to do it. And if you remember, one of our members was selected as the Employee of the Month. That was Mr. Tommy DiBiase, and I had asked him to manage the job for me, and he came in on his vacation and oversaw it, and we did that job, which was a very significant job for us to do in-house. It was a very big project, and so from that point on, I felt that from what I had seen, we are able to accomplish a lot in-house. We can really do most jobs in-house. The next slide you'll see is just a couple pictures of our mechanical fleet in the middle. I don't know if you're all aware that we work on almost every single vehicle or motor or pump, whatever it is in the municipality that we own. Obviously, some of the fire stuff is a little bit critical. So we have, which is well known around the area, that our mechanical services fleet, headed by Luke Cornine, is a very well-trained fleet, very smart, and they will solve problems on mechanical, hydraulics, electrical, whatever it is. We're working on a little bit of more formal training. One of the mechanics is going to be going out next week to Indianapolis for a formal training on that, and to start working with body manufacturers and truck companies so that we have a little bit more. We're going to get software, so we'll be able to marry things up a little bit more. We'll be a little bit more where that we are, rather than having to search for books and information. We do a lot of fabricating. Mechanic McDougall is also an excellent fabricator, and you'll see the picture there where he is. This past year, leading up to January, now remember, we're talking about last year, we had a couple pretty big snowstorms. Luckily, we didn't see anything like you see the pictures there this year. And, right? So in talking about that, one of the areas we have some savings this year is in our salt line. And you're going to see a significant savings in that because we really have had warmer temperatures. Even though we had a very cold period, we didn't have a lot of precipitation with it, and we didn't have to put down a lot of salt. So salt bins are in fairly good shape now. We haven't, so-called bulked up, but as we do come back into spring and early summer, we'll be in very good shape. And so I work with Jim on that line item quite a bit, and so he'll have a very good idea of what will be left in that salt item because we didn't have a lot of storms, and that'll be able to fund other things within the budget. I talk about the employees here on a regular basis, and I can just tell you that I'm only as good as the people behind me. It's the men and women of the Department of Public Works. They're really every single day, all weather conditions. If you look at some of these pictures, do the job inside out. My job is to facilitate those jobs and make sure that Madison's getting the best job, whether it's contracted out or we do it in-house. And I'm a firm believer that my job is to make sure that we're doing everything in-house we can to do the best job we can. Once we contract out, we don't have a profit margin. So if you look at this slide, we talk about a house at the Recreation Department and built down at the pond. So we're doing that house. We pay a fairly good price for the concrete, which is the same price any other contractor. I schedule it so the windows, either very little or no overtime, so we can do it when we're doing a job. If we had to do a job like that by contracting out, we would have a profit margin we'd have to pay for. We don't have that profit margin. We have to have employees here to do tasks, and so while they're here, we can do jobs like this. This is a perfect example of what we can do to help Madison save money on our budgets and build a better Madison. The water department this year, because it was so cold, you're going to notice a little uptick in their overtime in their budget. The reason is because we had multiple water breaks this year with it being so cold. Supervisor DiBiase talked to me. He said it was one of the busiest years he's had in water breaks in the last years because we had such a deep cold. The ground shifts a little bit. Some of the pipes just, the way they're sitting either on rock or in stone or whatever, it just takes a little bit of a movement, and that causes a break. Some can be significant and take, quite a few hours. We have a very good crew that works in the water department, and we get them done in a pretty timely fashion. We work with the police department and trying to notify residents in that area. We try not to create a much bigger area to let the entire town know if there's a water leak on, a road, so that it's kind of localized to there, so we don't get a lot of phone calls and get tied up, a water leak that's just on one road. One area we ramped up this year is on security. We worked very closely with the police department on security measures, Bottle Hill Day and a few other events, the Christmas parade. You may or may not notice, but the Department of Public Works is part of the security team for Madison, and we want a safe Madison, and we want to have a secure area, so we work very closely with the police department on making that happen. We do a lot of preparation behind the scenes, getting ready for that and ramping that up. And if you walked around Bottle Hill Day, you'll see where we had some vehicles placed, different vehicles. We know the weights, the size, what's in them, so that if there was ever an attempt to do anything, that we'd have a good blocking device. If you look at the way we do it, and Madison lays it out, and you go around to other towns, you'll see what a good job we do. Madison does a very good job with security, and I think the people walking around know that they have a very safe environment. And when you walk around that Bottle Hill Day or event or the farmer's market, you should feel safe because Madison is doing a good job, and the Department of Public Works is part of it. I'm working on standardizing safety practices, as we're talking about here. That's an ongoing practice that we do every year. Last year we had very few injuries. We had very few missed days. We had a couple injuries, a back injury. I got some stitches for an injury. The security measures for all the pump stations and the wells, we're talking about that. So it'll be, instead of a key system, there'll be a slide card system, there'll be some cameras, there'll be some more monitoring, just in case there's some kind of problem or someone tries to do something, one level up from vandalism. We have new record-keeping and time-keeping technology. We've implemented that. It's been a very challenging time, but we're getting through it. And I talked to CFO this morning, and we were very good. We were down to 4 mistakes in the last 3 weeks, so that's pretty good. We had 6 the last time, so we're headed in the right direction. And we're still working on the collective bargaining negotiations, and we're going to be tightening that up very shortly. I assume that will be done, and I still work with the union, and I talk to our union members and have supervisory meetings on a regular basis to talk about improvements and what we can do. And that picture shows you exactly what our team can do for this town. Thank you.
In your capital slide,
On the capital slide, we're replacing a 2-ton mason dump truck, we'll call that, which is a fairly common vehicle. We replaced 2 of them last year. I think that we get a good amount of use out of our vehicles. We're probably keeping them now a little bit longer because I feel as though we're maintaining them very well. So if we have to keep them for a few more years, we do. And we're buying 2 recycling trailers for the Parks Department. So the Parks Department has never had a commercial type trailer where you have all the mowers and the weed whackers and the leaf blowing machines and the cans to carry the grass and stuff and the weeds out. So now that'll all be compacted into 2 trailers. And, they'll be able to take those around town to different parks rather than having to, stuff's outside, then coming back. We won't have to unload stuff. We don't leave anything outside at night in the Department of Public Works because we have an unsecure area. And some of the trailers don't fit in the garage, so it's a little bit of a process taking mowers off the trailers, getting them in, leave the trailer out because the trailer doesn't fit in with the... So now we're going to be able to secure everything through a couple trailers. You'll see local landscapers using that type of equipment, and it'll all be combined together in one.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? Thank you, Ken. Well done.
How'd I do?
Well, all I can say is we're trending in the wrong direction.
You gotta whip that out, man. You gotta do that.
It was riveting.
Hello, everyone. Jim Mattina.
Jimmy.
Okay, let's start. We're going to start with our complete capital improvements that we've done last year. We purchased new submergible transformers for the commercial districts. We got them all in. There's 10 of them. We secured our fencing and barbed wire all around our substations. That's complete. Handheld radio meter reading devices. That's in place. We ordered all our lamppost fixtures for our Kings Road job. We're replacing our double buckets. That's in progress right now. I already spoke to the salesman. He came out last week and walked over with the crew on the blueprints of the new bucket truck. And our 2018 projects for capital items. We're going to still beginning installing conduits, piers, and lampposts on Kings Road. This is phase 2. We already did phase 1 from Prospect Street to Green Avenue. Now we're going to do from Green Avenue to KRE. That'll be in the spring. Continued system reinforcement. That's going up and down every street, making sure the wires are good, service to the people's houses are okay, the meters are okay, and that helps us out with outages. Waverly Place upgrade. We had a problem there a couple of weeks ago where the service blew up for the bank, and found out the manholes are buried with water. The salt gets in there. It eats up our wires, and found out the wire is a little bit smaller, so we're going to upgrade this feeder line, so they'll be in good shape. Replacing all the street light fixtures like I told you before. I want to do Main Street. I want to do Madison Avenue. I want to do all Park Avenue. And that's in the process already. Atlanta Health, we're already starting to run the circuit up there for them. I just got a phone call today. Their electrician wants to meet with me next week. I'm going over some plans. So that's in the works. Automated meter installation, Jim Trimble's doing a really good job, and with the help of us guys, the linemen out there, we already installed about 300 meters. 300 smart meters are already out there. So Jim Trimble did a great job. Our new storage building, it's going to be an addition, like John was saying, to our Butler building. So that's going to be nice once we get that done. Kings Road Substation stair repairs, like John was saying, the old quote was for $50,000. I didn't think we had to rip the whole thing down, so I called the contractor back, and we looked at it. We're going to replace the stairs and the landings for $8,000. So we got some savings there. Have the transformer for well B. and that's going to be, as soon as Bob Vogel lets me know, gives me the go, we'll be doing that. These oil filtration systems for James Park, it's a system that goes on the transformer and it keeps the oil clean. We have 2 more we got to install. And continue annual funding for the future of the substation upgrades. We're doing that. And relay upgrades for the substation. And next. Completed the 3-year maintenance for the substation. We're in process right now for a new budget. With American Testing is coming to bid. We're picking up the bid packages Thursday. And so right now there's only a couple of them pick up the bid package. Installation of the fans on the transformer for 4B. That's going to be installed this year. And like I said, the filtration system for 3A and 3B, that's on go. And our operating budget continues to be significant for maintenance at the proper level and materials and equipment. Overview, electric department distribution system is very good condition. The substations are annual tested and well maintenance. Distribution system is in very good condition and will continually be assessed and upgraded as needed. And that's my 5-year capital. $200,000 for the meters, smart meters. $100,000 is for that pickup truck that we're not getting, just to do the bodies. And $125,000 down there is for the Madison Avenue new circuit and the Waverly place upgrade. And the $300,000 is the funding for the substation. $50,000 for signal cameras, Dodge field lighting. Generator that's going to be coming down to the yard. We're going to put a slab down there for $50,000 and parking lot lights for $50,000.
Any questions for Jimmy? Well done. Yeah, Pat?
I have a question, actually, maybe more for the other Jim, because it's about automated meters. At what point will we be able to, instead of having to do handheld, be able to actually have the meter readings come back to Borough Hall automatically or automagically?
That'll be a big step in the process. We need to have enough meters out there first. We only have a few hundred meters deployed, as Jim said. We're going to hopefully be deploying a few thousand over the summer. From there, we could take the interim step of just buying a little bit of equipment and have drive-by technology where we can more easily grab the reads just by a car driving. I know that's not where you want to be finally, but once we have that amount of meters deployed, and if we deploy them in a neighborhood-by-neighborhood basis, we can start to work on deploying the collectors and working on the technology to have those reads come back. So, sorry, long for answer. Short answer is possibly as early as the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be before we start to deploy a lot, I know we did them on a selective basis because we want to get comfortable with them, we really should consider and maybe talk to some people about how we could deploy them in a way that we wouldn't have to do the interim step of having an automobile type reading, just be able to build out the network so that we can do, kind of fan out from probably where the central point is. I'm assuming it's either Harley, Dodge, or the police and fire safety building, whatever the main collector is, so that we can take advantage of the technology, for its best use.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Mike.
My name is Mike Fitzpatrick. I'm the health officer, and I represent the health department. But another layer in the health department is really the Board of Health, which is the policy maker, just as the council is the policy maker for the township. It's a separate autonomous board that sets policy for the Department of Health, as well as determines who the staff members and employees are. So I give credit to the Board of Health, and Eric Range as the president, helping to guide and provide, again, policy information for us throughout the year, and set salaries, set basis of budgets, etc. So Health Department is one of those departments that when you look at it, there's the big picture, and the big picture is sometimes very quiet and silent. No one really knows we exist many times. Sometimes that's part of doing a good job, and things stay quiet. Other times it's a lot of preparation and ability to put pieces of the puzzles together. So if there is an emergency, if there is some kind of issue or problem that occurs, we're well prepared to be able to implement it and to work with, frankly, many of the department heads and departments that are here this evening. So it's important and a key factor that we're continually preparing, being trained. Policies are changing all the time, and if you just listen to television or you just listen to people talk, they're always talking about protect the health, better health. The word health comes out all the time. We have to worry about our health. We have the flu season, our best health. So we're not as big of a department as the rest of the departments in town per se. We have approximately 6 equivalent of full-time employees, 7 or 8 total employees, including contract employees, such as myself. And our goal really is to kind of listen and monitor State Department of Health, a group of other individuals like CDC, Rutgers University, and take their lead on current issues and items. The more pertinent things that we do in town relate to really providing vaccinations. We're all talking about flu clinics and problems that people have had and some serious consequences from flu this season. Implement immunization programs, as well as conduct food inspections, and not only inspections, but then you review the plans, and we've heard tonight that there are some new establishments coming into town. We review those plans as well as the construction department. We run a whole array of health education programs, and we provide vital records, essentially, for the residents for marriage, birth, deaths, etc. And we also provide animal control services, rabies clinics, and licensing. Our goals for 2018 is really to review our ordinances, make a determination that they're modern, current, and they're best practice, provide quality health services not only to Madison, but to all the contract communities that we provide services to, develop partnerships with Atlantic Health, the YMCA, and provide health education programs with schools, etc. So we have kind of a full, broad approach to providing health services. We also want to evaluate requirements, resources needed to implement the accreditation process. That's a long, expensive process. We want to see if that's worthwhile, so we'll evaluate this year. We'll evaluate that this year. And the last thing is that there's a public health annex, part of the OEM process that in 2013 was developed. This is the 5th year, and it's a 5-year cycle, so we need to work on that this year and implement it. We have no capital expense requirements or requests this year, and it's essentially how the health department operates in here in Madison.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Yes.
John?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do you provide any contract services for other municipalities? And do you have plans to do more?
We're evaluating what is the most cost-effective approach. We're always willing to do more for 2 reasons. One, to provide a broader, better service, because public health really doesn't imply just one person or one community, but a broader community. If we can find a way to provide services to more communities and/or some other kind of partnership arrangement, that would be very, very appropriate, I think. We want to make sure they're cost-effective, but also that they provide quality services.
Who do we provide services to now, please?
Currently?
Yes.
Chatham Township, Springfield, Cranford.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, I was just going to say, we also should note that Mike is actually an employee of Bloomfield, and he's actually providing services to us, serving as our health department officer. So we're doing shared services in both directions to operate the health department.
Yeah,
Yep.
relatively unique here in the state.
Yes.
We might be the only ones doing that.
How's it working so far?
I think it's working well.
Good.
It seems like I spend a lot more time in Madison than I do in Bloomfield.
We deserve it.
But it's a nice town, so I like it, and there's a lot of things to do. So it's appreciated that I can be here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Thank you, Mike. Russ.
Right now, I'm Stoop. Got it. Good evening, everyone. Okay, as we take a look back at 2017, as we expected, it was pretty busy for the building department, and our numbers kind of reflect that. All of our numbers have increased, and of those 2,300 permits, some of them were pretty large. You all know we had the Allegheny project, the Cary, and Brookville, taking on a lot of our time. One of my accomplishments that I'm happiest about is maintaining a level of service for the residents. Nobody was denied or pushed off, whether they were doing a deck or a porch, just because there was some very...
We'll get to the microphone. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. All right, thank you.
I think you're the tallest of our department heads. Your head's on the screen, and yep.
Okay, so we had a pretty good 2017. One of the things I'd like to review is, while the officials were doing their inspections and maintaining the current projects, the administrative staff were still looking back and taking care of some of the older projects and cleaning up the files for the residents as they move forward and sell and open requests and some of the older permits that weren't done. And you can see that there's an added benefit to that as well. These are some great folks. We're fortunate to have them. Some of my 2018 goals are just really to maintain the level of service that we have. Looking forward, we're going to have a pretty busy year this year as well. We want to continue cleaning up the older permits, getting the files squared away. That really kind of covers it for us.
All right. Questions?
Yes.
Yeah, and again, this is probably as much for Jim as it is for you, but your department actually provides one of the larger variable revenue sources for the borough. Is it possible to do maybe a 10 or 15-year look back on how much was generated each of those years? So we can get a sense of what is normal and where we are relative to that. And
we absolutely can.
And then maybe get some guidance from you as to how you see things over the next 5 years, if we're going to be able to sustain the level of revenue you're currently generating, or if we're in kind of a very nice bubble at the moment.
I can certainly do the look back.
Okay.
Look ahead may be better with planning.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know till it's...
Yeah, that would probably be more consulting with the administrators, but thank you.
Well, I just personally would like to thank you for being a revenue-generating source in Madison and for all you do to make that happen. So
we do the
thank
best
you
we
very
can,
much.
and we've got a great group. We really do.
Sounds like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the record, the trend has been going the other direction since Ken presented. Tallest guy, shortest presentation. And I apologize. I'm obviously the shortest department head because I'm the only one whose head isn't getting hit by the projector. So I apologize.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, I think I may be the shortest department head, but we can debate that another time. I'm not going to discuss all of our slides in our presentation because I really do believe that the statistics in the operating budget are pretty self-explanatory, but I'd be more than happy to answer questions. I'd like to highlight some of our main accomplishments over the last year, as well as some of our goals for the coming year. In 2017, in addition to the support we received from the borough, I'd like to acknowledge the many sources of funding which supported our efforts. Many of our special projects were funded by the Friends of the Library, grants from the Rotary Club of Madison and the Ralph Arrington Foundation, Lawrence Tabor Bequest, and the generosity of private donors. In addition to completing a successful space plan assessment, we completed... Sure. In addition to completing a successful space plan assessment, we completed the renovation of our picture book room, which now functions as a flexible space for children's programming. Several of our technology initiatives have resulted in mobile makerspace activities, wireless and color printing for our patrons, web-based mobile circulation and registration, and the completed digitization of the Madison Eagle. We also worked very hard to develop our outreach and connections to the community with a regular presence at the community pool, the farmers market, and other focal community events to raise awareness of our programs and services amongst residents who might not regularly use the library. These are the statistics that I'll skip over, but I'll be happy to answer questions. In 2018, in addition to continuing with many of the initiatives in progress in programming, outreach, and technology, our overriding goal for the year will be to secure funding through the State Construction Bond Act for the much-needed renovations and upgrades to the library building. And I'm going to turn it over to Dave Luber to follow through on that.
The library's capital plan shows no new capital appropriations in 2018, and then $300,000 for roof repair in 2019. Note this is not new.
Dave, you want to go to the next slide there?
I go backwards.
There we go.
Note that this is not for a new roof, but for the installation of a new technology that is installed over and then seals the existing roof. And then $300,000 for asbestos abatement for the children's and adult sections of the library in 2020. This would complete the abatement program that we began a number of years ago. There's an additional $9,000 that year for addressable fire detectors, which would then tie into an overall planned borough monitoring and alarm system. And then $300,000 in 2021 for ceiling and lighting replacement that would follow the abatement process. These are total cost estimates, but as Lynn just mentioned, the voters of New Jersey approved a $125 million library bond act that is intended for, among other things, and I quote, to repair major systems or components of a public library building in order to keep the building in efficient operating condition. Matching grants of up to 50% of the cost of such projects will be made available from the bond issue. It is the library's and borough administration's plan to have a proposal ready for submission to cover the items I just described as soon as the library announces that grant proposals will be accepted. We thank the Council for the recent resolution to fund the needed architectural work for the ceiling and lighting replacement project. I should note that the library will also be engaging an architect at our expense to develop plans for refurbishing the interior of the building to make it more efficient use of our available space and to provide more room for programs, a dedicated makerspace, and meetings. Projects that will be much like the recently completed refurbishment of the children's picture book room, which was on the first slide that Lynn showed. The costs for this work that is not funded by the bond issue will be borne by the library and our supporters in the community. Anybody have any questions?
Questions for Dave or Lynn? Pat?
One question. When you say that's the end of the asbestos abatement, does that mean that literally every area is now free of asbestos? Or
it will be.
It will be, okay.
The two big areas are the children's main area and the adult main area, other than the stacks in the back, which were done years ago. But yeah, that would complete the project.
Okay. Then one other question for Lynn, and then it's going back to her stats. When we say items borrowed, are those all physical, or are some of those electronic books that are now being downloaded?
It's primarily physical items. Yes, I believe that is physical items. The 2015 number may not include any electronic items whatsoever. 2016 and 2017, I believe, includes some e-books.
Okay. Are we still seeing a trend upward in terms of physical items being bought, especially books, or is that starting to decline?
No, that's a downward trend nationwide.
Okay.
Actually, probably worldwide, but it's definitely a downward trend in industrialized countries. Electronic circulation is increasing.
Okay.
Physical circulation is trending downwards. If you combine the two, circulation is roughly steady.
Okay.
It's just a different balance in format.
And I assume that's they're going to be reflected as you look to remake the space. You're going to reflect that new balance.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
But the visits have been going way up, though, even though physical.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And closures certainly hurt us, but then we recovered. So. And I think that's
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Get the watch. Get the thing up. Here we go. Start it up. Everybody's getting a watch.
No pressure, Bob, as you get ready, but we have this horn and it's very loud.
No pressure.
But it won't happen tonight. It's not happening tonight. Thank you all, and good evening. Bob Vogel, your borough engineer. Great to be here. We had a great year in 2017, as most of you probably know. We had our little presentation on road improvement projects in September, kind of recapping what would happen there. We completed 7 road reconstruction projects, and these are third-party contracts for the engineering department. All these are outsourced services. So 7 road reconstruction projects were completed, 9 road mill and overlay projects were completed, 5 traffic signals were upgraded at different locations throughout town. North Street Pump Station was completed, almost completed. I think we just finished it, as a matter of fact, last week. That was about a 1.5 year long contract, and so nice to get North Street Pump Station up and running and in full compliance with the rules for the DEP, with new pumps and everything upgraded there. So it's really nice if you get a chance to go visit. Give Vito a call over at Public Works, and he'll give you a tour of the new motors and everything else there. The sanitary sewer evaluations were completed last year. We have another phase of that sanitary sewer evaluation, which has to commence this coming year. So we're going to go out for bid with that in the next month or so. Kleinfelder consultants have helped us formulate that contract, and we hope to have that design working in the next 30 days. So we'll be out to bid very shortly on the next phase of sanitary sewer evaluation. Our Elmer Street Storm Sewer Program project, as you know, we had to reject all bids last month. They're out to bid again, and we expect bids at the end of March. All that has to kind of come together with the Central Avenue repaving project that we have slated for this summer. So there's a lot that has to happen later on this spring to stay ahead of the paving contractor. As you know, the Harley Dodge soil remediation was a fairly big project right in the back of our building here, and that was completed reasonably well. Other accomplishments, obviously, there's a fairly long list. The MRC bleachers was a big project for us, $250,000 worth of improvements there at the MRC. Well D redevelopment took place for Tom DiBiase over in the water department. Water main replacements commenced. Obviously went in for a number of project grants. Very nice surprise that we got over the weekend, as the mayor previously stated, with funding on the last phase of Greenwood Avenue. So all phases of Greenwood Avenue were funded through DOT local aid based on applications that our staff submitted. So that was great news. We have the smallest department of any you've heard tonight. You have 4 full-time staff members. So I might as well just go through the names. One is Fran Boardman, one is Dan Buccalo, and the other is Frank Russo. All hardworking, all help out tremendously during the course of the year. As far as the land use, Fran is our governess there. She runs the planning and zoning boards
and told me I'd be remiss if I didn't go through almost 500 zoning permit applications that she processed with Dan and Frank. 17 planning board hearings. I believe there's 13 applications as part of those planning board hearings that were approved. 13 zoning board hearings, and I believe there were probably 43 actual applications for the zoning board. So a busy year for the zoning board as well. Fran collects the fees, she processes the escrows, and the escrows are many times that $77,000 worth of fees that are processed as part of the application fee. So pretty good year in 2017. We hope to do more of that. Obviously, our goals for 2018 are to develop our plans and specifications for the 2019 projects, close out our 2017 projects. The only thing left on 2017 is the Prospect Street reimbursement from DOT. So there's a little bit of grant administration that has to be done in order to clean up that project. 2018 projects, as you probably know, most of them are out to bid at this stage of the game. Frank Russo just texted me and said the presentation at the Community Development Block Grant tonight went very well, so they got in and out of there very quickly, and no major questions as far as our application. They like the application, so keep your fingers crossed on that. That's another $80,000 which may be coming our way. Let's see, as far as capital improvement projects are concerned. I believe you saw the road improvement capital plan that was distributed in December, and we talked about that in January and appropriated some funds for the 2018 road improvement projects, so we don't have to go through that. And the other capital outsourced projects that we want to accomplish as far as the storm sewers are concerned is the Green Avenue Kings Road project, which is a hydraulics improvement. There's a manhole very close to this building, which during heavy rainfall lifts out of its mounting, and I believe because of the acute angle that they have in the sewer there, we can improve the hydraulics there markedly and eliminate that problem. So we hope to have that designed and built in the summer season this year. As far as sanitary sewer system capital is concerned, again, you see in 2019 and 2018, the $200,000 is for continuing sanitary sewer evaluations and investigations. The reason that number is recurring is once the evaluation phase is 100% completed, and we're very close to that, we're going to go back and do lining projects and grouting projects, and take what has come to light as the most serious parts of our underground sanitary sewer system and remediate all those in the coming years under separate bids. So that should really move our sanitary sewer system in the direction of being reasonably maintenance-free for the coming years. One of the building improvements for building and grounds capital, obviously our big project for this year is the Harley Dodge Memorial Plaza restoration. As Pat stated earlier, we have the qualifications request to be advertised this coming week, and we hope to be able to award a construction project for the plaza this summer. And I believe we have $150,000 worth of outside grant funding from Morris County to accomplish that task at the same time. So a lot of things in the air as far as getting work done, but I believe if we are persistent, we will achieve those goals. You see there's an item there for $125,000 of underground storage tank remediation. That is follow-up work on the work that was done in the back of Harley Dodge Memorial in terms of further testing. And Mont McDonald, through Roy Redmond, who's a resident in town also, has been doing a great job with our environmental stair remediation projects in town for several years. So it's good to have him back on board for another year. Water utility, Tom DeBias has been obviously very busy doing operations-oriented work. His capital, I believe Jim actually talked about that a little bit at the last public meeting. because Jim actually went through both electric and water. But the highlights are well improvements are probably $250,000 worth of work, and we'd obviously like to combine some of that well improvement with the treatment plant, which serves both well A and well B. So for this year, we've appropriated a portion of the money that will, or we're budgeting for a portion of the money that will be necessary for the improvements, not only at well A, but for the treatment plant and for well B. And you'll see those costs out over 2018, 2019, and 2020. For 2018, the water utility capital, as far as water main replacements are concerned, includes Greenwood Avenue North. And since we just got funding from the state DOT for Greenwood Avenue North, that makes that a #1 priority for us for the summer. So the timing on that is exceptional. Frank, I believe, has those design plans on his desk, and we hope to bid those in the next 30 to 45 days. Let's see, Plain Street, as you know, we got funding from Morris County for, and Frank, I believe, has those plans for bid also. We should be getting those bids in late March. And the overall revised draft capital 5-year program, which I need to thank all the department heads behind me for all their participation and getting their numbers together as far as capital projections are concerned. It's an annual event which almost goes all year round at this stage. So it's good to have their continuing involvement in these numbers. And so it also helps us provide dependable numbers without too many surprises during the course of the year. So happy about that. If there are any questions about the engineering operating budget and or capital projects, the 5-year capital plan, I'm open for questions. Hopefully that went quickly.
Any questions for Bob? Pat?
Well, first I want to say whoever had 11 minutes wins the pool. Second, when you go back to the storm sewer system stuff, because a lot of these projects require specialty equipment or skills, technical people. But I was wondering, when it comes to the storm sewer system, some of the projects, are we able to consider doing any of them in-house to either accelerate them or to save some money, or both?
I think in this specific case, Pat, with regards to the Green Avenue, Kings Road.
No, I'm not talking about that specific one. I'm talking about the whole 5-year plan as you look at it now.
Very possible. Okay. I would love to see that happen. I think a lot of these projects are public works size projects that can be managed. Okay. Some of the larger ones, like all of Elmer Street, obviously, which is a big storm sewer improvement project, 800 feet long. That's something that we have to outsource in order to get it done quickly and expeditiously. But a lot of these projects are smaller projects, and I'd love to have Ken's interest in participation in getting them done. There's a fairly long list of little things that we have to accomplish.
Okay, I mean, as he was going through some of the things they've done this year, I was really impressed with it. And, you know, I think in the past, one of the things we've talked about is trying to have our own staff internally do some of these things. And I think it would help free up dollars for other things. The thing I want to say is I try to track periodically where we are versus the strategic planning committee's sort of recommendations in terms of how we should be dividing the money. I'm very happy to see that we are spending significant amount of money on water, since I still consider that to be our most essential of all capital programs. We've always done well with electric, which is also up there, in sanitary sewer. You know, we seem to be okay. I haven't totaled up where we are versus what the overall investment we need to make, but it seems like we're going in the right direction. So I want to thank you guys and the administration for focusing on the things that are important to the health and safety of the residents.
Any other questions? Thank you, Bob. I had you for a minute less than Pat did, so.
Well, no, it was over 10, so you have to go up to the next number.
Okay, there you go. That was over 10. Very good. Thank you all for department heads, and hopefully for the residents that were able to come tonight and those watching this at home at a later date. You've learned a lot about the great things that are going on in every department and how they work so hard to make your tax dollars truly be reinvested in our community. Our next step on this is, as I mentioned before, is March 5th, a week from tonight. We'll be back here at 7 o'clock. And that's when we will see a revised budget, any tweaks that have come in over the last couple of weeks of discussion. We'll also be comparing that to our strategic plan and to make sure we're hitting where we are against the guidelines. So, and then we're introducing the budget March 26th, after Jim gets his marching orders after the 5th to finalize it. So thank you all again. And now we move on to ordinance for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Okay, ordinance is scheduled for hearing were introduced by title and passed on the first reading at the regular meeting of the council held on Monday, February the 12th, 2018. All were posted and filed according to law, and the copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
I call up ordinances for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said ordinances by title. Ordinance 7-2018.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $35,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a police department vehicle.
I open the hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on Ordinance 7, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move Ordinance 7-2018.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
I declare Ordinance 7-2018 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 8-2018.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $10,000 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund for update of the Open Space and Recreation Plan.
I open the hearing for Ordinance 8. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move Ordinance 8-2018.
Second that motion?
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
I declare Ordinance 8-2018 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice there in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. And now we're on to our second invitations for discussion. This is when you may comment on anything. Again, it's 3-minute. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but you'll get a 1-minute warning, and then I'll ask you to stop at 4. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you start my time, Mayor, I would just like to comment. I wish that your department had stayed here, because they made very nice presentations, and they probably don't get thanked enough by the residents for the work that we do, because you can see by the fact that we're generating revenue from construction, and some of the departments are running at cost-neutral budgets, that we just have a lot of good activity in the borough, from corporates and commercial, residential. So there's a reason that people still want to come here. And, of course, all of you are doing a great job adding them and creating good policy. So hopefully, you know...
We'll pass that on to the...
And when I see them around town, too, I'll make sure to say that.
If you could, for the record, once again, state your name and address.
Tom Allen Putis, 27 Palmer Road. So I would respectfully ask, Mayor, if it's possible, let me go a little bit over the 3 minutes.
Can't.
Something is a very important topic.
I still have to stay consistent for 4 minutes. You get 4 minutes.
All right. I timed myself, though. It took me
I will
talk about this.
Oh, God.
I just restarted since we had this discussion.
So this is just I want to just open some discussion and thoughts with the council and with the administration and in the town about the horrific incidents that happened last week in Florida at Stoneman Douglas High School. It seems to be the straw that broke the camel's back. We finally have a nationwide discussion on the topic of gun control and public protection from deranged individuals that are willing to instill horror and death to multiple Americans. The public and our leaders can all recall the multitude of times this has happened in our country, and most incidents are current enough that the high schoolers affected by this can also recall and relate to some of them. There's so many emotions, so much frustration, so much uncertainty about this insanity circulating that current discussions and debates are encompassing a multitude of issues, all of which are pressing and deserve immediate attention with effective outcome. I'm coming to you as the leaders of our community, asking that you are the voice for those who are not strong enough to have a voice, and for the masses like me who need organized representation to enact the change. I believe that our town leaders, our county leaders, our state leaders, they can and they have to continue supporting the movement, which is now in motion throughout the country, which is being finally forced upon our nation by the most vulnerable members of our society, our children. The cry to defend our safety and the sanctity of life is not only coming from our children, as we all can recount the mass murders that each time were more unbelievable than the last, and each time they were expected to never be repeated. A few: Columbine, Aurora, Colorado movie theater, Newton, Connecticut high school, San Bernardino Mall, Orlando nightclub, Las Vegas concert, Sutherland Springs, Texas church, Fort Hood, Texas military base, Stoneman Douglas High School. There's over 50 in the last 25 years. The only pattern I see here is that the death rate of each incident is staggering, and our perception up to now is that each time had to be the last time. I want you and our community to move us toward making this the last time. At this sensitive juncture, where do we start? Do we address the Second Amendment and the true intent of our forefathers to give Americans the right to bear arms? This certainly has to be discussed. Do we address the state of sanity and mental capacity of anyone owning or trying to own a gun? Definitely. Do we address the dangers of putting more guns into our society so that we can protect ourselves from what we fear most, which is other gun holders? For sure we have to discuss this. Do we address the types of weapons that any person can legally own, which can be used to enact a mass killing? Undoubtedly, positively, without question, we have to discuss that. And finally, do we address enacting strict new policies federally and locally towards any threats from disturbed individuals so these incidents are prevented each and every time? Of course we do. The list of safety changes for our nation is long, and I know discussions and even some changes happen, but it's obvious to all of us this change is not making a difference. I always say that our children are smarter than us. Their maturity can certainly be questioned, but when presented with a problem and the outcome needs both common sense and calculation, they're smarter than us. The examples and responses that have come to the forefront of this tragedy should make all of us adults feel like idiots. Really. Here's a few examples. Why is it possible in some states to buy a weapon with an expired license? These are children, the students who have given these examples over the last week, and you probably have heard them in the media. Why can you buy multiple weapons at one time? Why should guns be for sale at gun shows? Why is a threat not always with consistency acted on by law enforcement? Why is a thorough background check not mandatory nationwide with one policy, with no alternatives by any state? And why did we allow in 2017 the repeal of a mental illness history regulation that prevented any individual with this illness from buying a weapon? Why should any manufacturer of guns be allowed to contribute to any campaign?
1 minute, Tom.
To any political candidate or lawmaker? Why is there no federal funding to protect our schools? Yet we spend billions of dollars around the world to protect and defend foreigners. Of course, the changes that need attention are much broader than this, but the obvious solutions to most people that I have talked with don't seem to get attention and are not implemented. Now there's a discussion at the federal level that instead of eliminating the threat, new measures to reduce the opportunity, there is an option that says we will make our communities ready to defend against these situations by putting more weapons into our society and expecting that shooters will be challenged by shooters. Sure, we can find these loophole situations where law enforcement wasn't specifically at the scene, but we can't fault them for not being everywhere all the time. The fault has to be with our policies that allow law-abiding citizens and our children to be put in a position where a disturbed person can threaten and cause harm in innocent places. For anyone to think that it's safer to have a school responder with a loaded gun ready to fight an intruder and take them down before they even kill one person is, in my opinion, ludicrous. To let anyone function with the intent and possibly transmit the intent and then try to act on the intent of harming our citizens, we will have people ready to shoot back. It's insane. It shows no perception of reality. So while I do respect the Second Amendment and I do respect the right to privacy of individuals, I want the right for innocent law-abiding citizens, especially children, to be respected. And for everyone, they should be allowed to live. I hope the borough can start with our own proclamation that we are a right-to-live town. We won't tolerate threats on our borders, and we want our nation to deter the opportunity for those threats to happen anywhere on our national borders. I don't know if the borough can make a proclamation against ownership of any type of military assault weapon, Maybe it's okay if a resident has a pistol, a hunting rifle, or a shotgun that was obtained legally with proper background checks. But hopefully they would register their weapons with the borough, just like we register our pets. The borough must continue to collaborate closely with our schools as they've done, and other town entities have to respond and investigate all threats.
If you could.
Okay, last thing, one thing, this is important. The students of our nation are done with our inaction, and I believe that the majority of Americans are tired of this too. While we might leave the Second Amendment alone, we can certainly consider, at a higher level than what our borough is capable of, maybe to make a 28th Amendment. This would, of course, come after the 27th Amendment, which discusses congressional leadership salaries. That's a different priority. Maybe the amendment could read like this. This is the last passage, Mayor. My idea, obviously. No person within the borders of the United States has the right to use weapons of defense to endanger, harm, or kill any person that does not pose a threat to that individual. The punishment of this type of crime should be worse than what was inflicted on the innocent victims. If a person is prosecuted of threats to inflict such harm, perhaps their punishment might be considered worse also. That's it. I hope I can at least stir up some conversation. You know, I wrote to you the other day about it too. It just tears my heart apart to hear all these tragic situations that have come up.
Thank you so much for.
I went over time.
I'll let you take a seat, and I'll talk a little bit about what steps we're taking. And I apologize that I did go past the time, but it was very important. And obviously, this has touched everyone so hard. As I pointed out in an event Friday night, it is so sad to think about the fact that those who survived Columbine are in their late 30s at this point, and we're still having this conversation. This town, just as Tom has requested, will not sit back, just as those students in Parkland chose not to sit back. They have decided this is the time. As I said before, enough is enough, and we are not going to sit back and allow others to dictate how this country should be. How our forefathers could have imagined this, I don't know. So we must take action. A couple of steps in our next meeting, we're hoping to have our superintendent here and our police chief to talk about the steps that we are taking in our schools and in the town to keep everyone safe. I had a conversation earlier today with Pastors Craig Dunn from First Baptist Church and Scott Foster from the Madison Presbyterian Church about an event that hopefully we can do here in our own town to have these conversations and to get the word across. We should be proud that we are in New Jersey, a state that leads the union in reasonable gun control, but that is not an excuse to sit back and say we've done our bit. We should be proud that we have Project Community Pride as a vehicle to provide mental health services for those in need and other resources in this town. But that doesn't mean we should sit back and say we've done it. We should be proud of our great school system, our great police department, but we're not going to sit back and say we've done it. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward. Missy?
Missy Elias, 40 Green Village Road. Thank you, Tom, for your comments, and thank you, Mayor, for your comments as well. It's all inspiring, heartening, and moving in a good direction. Second, just a comment on, again, tonight's really excellent budget presentations by the department heads. And just as the last meeting's comments and presentations were really excellent, for me as a consumer in the audience, it would have been great to have the last meeting's presentation in front of me on my laptop so that I could kind of put the dots together between the two. So that's just an observation that maybe going forward might make it more user-friendly for the audience.
Thank you. Great suggestion. And I think every year get stronger and stronger in how we present and communicate the budget, so we can do that. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting and move on to introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for March the 12th, 2018. All will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinances for first reading and ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinances by title. Ordinance 9-2018.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $30,000 from the Electric Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of 2 utility truck bodies and accessories.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9-2018.
I second that.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ordinance 10-2018.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $200,000 from the Electric Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of utility meters.
Mayor, I move ordinance 10-2018.
Second.
Any council discussion? But Jim, if you could address the question we had earlier related to the meters. We have both water and electric, so you can cover both.
Yes, sir. I think I addressed it a little bit in the comments to Mr. Rowe during the budget process, but the agenda recommendation does denote the total number of units that we have outstanding and for the meters in the field, and how many we hope to replace through the summer with the hiring of a part-time intern. So with that, we'll be working as diligently as we can. I was talking to Jim Mattina during the budget hearing on the side, and we are going to try to deploy them by book, which is by geographic zone, which will allow us to then look towards the process of installing the automated meter reading function that will allow us to not have to have the meter reader go out at all. As I told Councilman Rowe, I think that's 12 to 18 months away. There are approximately 6,600 electric customers, 5,200 water customers, and we'll be ordering over 200 meters of each type, electric and water, with these 2 ordinances.
Thank you. Any further council discussion? Roll call vote on ordinance 10.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ordinance 11-2018.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $200,000 from the Water Utility Capital Fund Reserve for automated meter reading for the purchase of utility meters and accessories.
Mayor, I move ordinance 11-2018 be adopted.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move resolutions R83-2018 through R93-2018.
Second.
Any council discussion or any that need to be pulled for separate vote? Roll call vote.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
There is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers.
Current fund, $3,270,307.24. For the general capital fund, $5,940.21. Electric operating fund, $248,875.06. The electric capital fund, $470. Water operating fund, $27,965.32. And the water capital fund, $5,662 even. Trust, $55,381.66. The total is $3,614,601.49.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
I will second that.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
In new business, I'd like to make the following appointment requesting council confirmation. The Utility Advisory Committee for unexpired 3-year term through December 31st, 2019, Catherine Daly of 20 West End Avenue. Have a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I'll move the appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
I thought
Great
there
night.
were questions. I thought he normally is there any discussion. That's why I didn't move it right away. I was waiting him to ask for that. All right. And he didn't. So there you go.
That went well, Jim. Yep.